We have dealt briefly with mobile device forensics when we dealt with computer forensics, but the fact is, mobile device forensics is actually rather different from computer forensics. There's a lot of similarity, but there are certain aspects of mobile devices that make them very, very different from computers. Let's take a look at forensic analysis of mobile devices. The special problems that they have, again, similar to computers, that there are many different mobile devices, and a lot of them have different operating systems. You can't just use Windows, or if you understand Windows, you'll know a lot of them. You have many, many different ones, and different kinds of file systems. Also, computers are basically not able to be remotely disabled, but mobile devices can be remotely disabled. The cell phones, they shut down because of lack of charge, but computers usually don't have that problem. You keep them plugged in, they won't have that. They won't have the problem shutting down. There's a problem when a mobile device shuts down, because when you want to start it up again, you might have to enter a code. So if you get the cell phone when it's still on, you want to keep it that way, but you can't keep it that way forever if it's going to lose the charge, and it often does lose the charge faster than, let's say, a laptop, or especially a computer that's plugged in. Also, there is a problem with cell phone security. There's one form of it, and possibly a lot of cell phones have this form of security, that if the cell phone is off and you want to turn it on, you have to enter a code. If you enter the wrong code a certain number of times, let's say 9 times or 10 times, let's say, then the phone recognizes someone's trying to break into the phone. So it will delete all data on the phone in a way that it can't be recovered. So if this happens, then the very valuable forensic evidence on the phone is going to be completely lost. So you've got to worry about that. Computers don't have that. They don't delete all data if it knows people are trying to break in, unless the person's a genius enough and he knows how to write a program that does it. But usually, if you can get into a computer a lot more easily than a cell phone if it has that form of security, which is, it happens. It's relatively popular, not that popular, but if you're a real criminal, you might, engage it, even though it's not popular. Now, this is usually not a problem. If you recover a cell phone, you go to the company, say, hey, look, we've got to break in. This is a legal issue. And the company is required to cooperate. But curiously enough, Apple does not. There was a case where they recovered a cell phone of a terrorist, and they needed the data on that cell phone. So they went and used a phone that from Apple, and they said, look, the U.S. government said you have to provide us with the workaround to security. And the Apple company, they said, no, our phones are secure, even from you. So they absolutely refused to do this, even though it was illegal. Now, Apple has a lot of money, so you can fine them, but they can swallow it. If they don't want to give you the codes, or they don't want to enable you to break in, they stood up to the government. Unfortunately, the government, they have their own abilities, and they managed to break into the phone without Apple's help. And after, and I don't know how they punished Apple or whatever it is. And to add insult to injury, as they say, Apple then asked the government, hey, how'd you do it? We want to know how to stop this in the future. Well, so goes the story. By the way, it is true that Apple did refuse, but what happened at the end of the story, I don't know. Anyway, it is a complicated field. Mobile device forensics is complicated, more complicated than ordinary computer forensics. The main reason is there's a large number of different mobile devices, and even from the same manufacturer, they may be different. So getting the data from it, or learning how to get the data from it, is going to be different for every one of them, and the mobile device forensic analyst has to know all these methods. The difference can even have legal ramifications. Some phones are allowed to be taken without a warrant. Some are not. Depending on what the kind of a phone, the police may not be able to hold on to it for that long. The person who has to analyze this, the mobile device analyst, has to be well knowledgeable in computer science and radio communications, which is what's behind these cell phones. Cell phones are also found all over the place. Computers are pretty much, you can see them. You don't hide them. It's hard to hide a computer. And you pretty much know where they're going to be. They're going to be in a place with a chair and a table. A mobile device can be found anywhere. So if you believe a person has a mobile device, it's not just like a computer where you just look through the house. You've got to do a major search for it. So it is, again, a little bit different even initially. We'll talk a little bit more about this soon. So let's just get an understanding of what mobile devices are. Now, there's 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. These are the first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation. Right now, that's all we have. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. But that's what we have. The 1G, that's completely analog. I mean, you might want to think of it as being a shortwave radio from one person to another. It's, of course, more than that, but that's like the technology behind it. It's completely analog. It only allows communication. Now, these are like, collector's items. We don't have them anymore. And this really doesn't come up much, only when we have old evidence. We manage to find something like some of these old dinosaurs. Also, they don't really have much data on them. Maybe the real advanced ones, for the day, they might have a telephone directory where we can connect, the person who the person was contacting, or even a call log with maybe 2 or 3 numbers. Again, it couldn't really save much. So this is really a very little forensic value. The 2G, that is digital. It's not analog anymore. This is a digital, and these, again, not common, especially in the more developed countries. But you go in less developed countries, they can be found. So crimes involving people with that, we might need to know about these 2G mobile devices. These have operating systems. They're different for every brand. The Palm, the BlackBerry. They might not be familiar to people now, but these are the forerunners of the iOS and the Android that we have now. They do have operating systems, and they have some features, not much, and the ability to recover deleted data. You never know. A lot of times not, but you might find a device that actually can do this. So if the data was deleted, we'd have to search through that, depending on the brand and what kind of the 2G phone there was. And there's also a lot of variability, even if they have the same brand, they may have a different operating system. So the forensic analyst has got to understand and got to know which operating system, which tools can be used for them, which drivers can be used to probe these 2G phones. Okay, now 3G that's when we have a little bit more popular. Nowadays we have pretty much everyone who wants a cell phone is going to get a 4G. But anyway, there are plenty of these 3Gs around. This is not just for talking; also sends data and over their cell phone system. They all have processors and file systems. So that means files are saved. That means we can break into them. We can find what these files had, and then in so doing get some forensic evidence. So these have multiple radio system for the standard talking, and for internet connection was different for the Wi-Fi connection. Again, because these things, they can send data over the internet, over the cell phone system, whatever it might be. But they do have. There is data, and there is data that we can use as evidence. They usually have applications or programs which are called apps now, for whatever reason. And there are many different operating systems for these, and each one might require a different forensic analysis tool, a different program that will enable you to read the data off of these 3G phones. And these are very different between different operating systems. The apps that are available, they might not be the same. Like you might have a similar app, but if it's for a different kind of a phone, it's going to be getting the information from it is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to have to know how to do that for different operating systems. Now, the Apple